I understand that this is probably going to be a very, very difficult thing to talk about, but we are here and your son is dead and there is a reason for it.
I'm a nurse. I would have immediately called 911. I panicked.
22 days ago, this nurse, Lily Shipe, walked into this very police department with her son fighting for his life. And right now, as she learns that Dominic is no longer alive, detectives suspect that there is much more to her than a mourning mother.
You were the last one with Dominic.
There are these unexplained injuries.
You're the only one that can possibly give an explanation.
Because piece by piece, they will begin to discover a series of damning clues, proving that what happened to Dominic was no simple accident.
These injuries were inflicted.
The injuries were inflicted and they were inflicted within that time period.
I don't have an explanation.
The only other alternative is that you don't want to tell us what happened.
It's approximately 9 p.m., a beautiful, quiet night on November 8th, 2021, for the residents of Florida living near North Shade Avenue, until a 911 call comes in that would send shockwaves throughout the entire neighborhood. At 10 p.m., from the 2300 block of Spring Oaks Circle near North Shade, an anonymous caller reported that their neighbor, Lily Shipe, had just arrived at their front door with a young victim who was not breathing and had lost consciousness. When first responders arrived, they learned that the infant was Lily's own son, Dominic Shipe. First responders performed CPR and other life-saving measures, but Dominic didn't regain consciousness as he was airlifted for specialized pediatric care. Deputies then turned and spoke to Dominic's mother, Lily, who left them surprised as they got to know that she had a decade of experience working in healthcare, as she herself was a nurse trained in basic nursing care, monitoring patient health, and recognizing medical emergencies. But despite all of those skills, she did not perform any life-saving measures on her own son or call 911, delaying medical intervention. Then, on November 10th, 2021, after fighting for his life for 2 days, Dominic succumbed to his injuries, with investigators suspecting that his death wasn't just a tragic accident. Because looking at his autopsy results, it became clear that his cause of death was blunt force trauma, raising serious concerns that Lily may have been the reason behind it. Consequently, she was brought in for an interrogation as detectives began to uncover what exactly happened to Dominic and why.
All right, so this is my partner, Detective McDonald. You can call him Chad.
Okay.
And again, I'm Sarah. A couple things about this room I just want to let you know about.
Feel free to
I don't know if you've ever seen a cop show or anything like that, but typically the interview rooms look a little bit different.
Yes.
This one's relatively nice. This is what we call our soft room. So this is to try to create a better environment for you. Make you a little bit more comfortable. I don't know how much your attorney has explained to you already, but this is an interview that is basically just a statement. So all we're asking of you is just to go through your day, and we'll get into that stuff, but it's not going to be, anything related to a crime, okay? So we are investigating the death of your child, and with that becomes statements. We have to talk to a lot of different people, and you are one of them. So again, thank you so much for coming in and taking the time to talk to us.
Absolutely.
Okay. So at any time, if you need to talk to your attorney and you don't want us to be present, please let us know. If at any time, Lily, you need to take a break, say, hey, Sarah, can we just take a break for a sec? Let me know. Just communicate with me. I am totally open to whatever you need. Okay?
Thank you.
If you need to use the restroom again, I have a tiny bladder, so I get it.
I do too.
I'm every 10 minutes, I'm in the bathroom, so just let me know, okay?
I'm the same, but I think I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for us before we begin?
I don't.
Okay. So, like I said, at any time, if you don't want to continue with the interview too as well, just let us know, okay? Again, this is statement-based. This is just to get an idea of what happened during the day and what you observed with Dominic, okay?
Okay.
I understand that this is probably going to be a very, very difficult thing to talk about. I can't imagine the pain that you're experiencing. But as best as you can, if you can provide as many details as possible, that would be so helpful to us.
Okay.
Lily, can you tell us about Monday, the 8th of November, from the time you woke up all the way through the end of the night?
Sure. I woke up, I think it was around 6:30 with Dominic. Fed him his formula, which usually takes half an hour. Had a little time to snuggle him. I made my coffee and my toast. Lucas woke up around 7:30. So then I put Dominic in his pack and play. I always sit with Lucas on the couch for a few minutes. He has his milk. Then I read him a book. So now we're going on 8 o'clock. I just say good morning to Lucas, read him a book. Pete gets up around 8, so he was up. He goes to work at 9, so we have that hour of family time. And Lucas watches a little cartoon during that time.
Mm-hmm.
And we play with Dominic. We didn't notice anything out of the ordinary as far as Dominic's behavior in the morning. He was his normal, happy self. So Pete went to work about 8:45, his normal time. Lucas had some Cheerios. I took Dominic's, he's got a seat chair outside. I took both of them outside. No, I'm sorry. I put his seat outside. Dominic was in his swing. I have a sound monitor that I took outside with me. We got back around 5. Unloaded them, and Pete got home shortly after that. By 5:15 he was home. I remember at that time Dominic was back in his sit-me-up seat on the table. Lucas was just playing. He's got a little kid's table next to the dining room table, and he's had a new puzzle for his birthday. We had dinner together. Pete left for band practice. He took Lucas outside to swing before we sat down and ate. So just after we had dinner, he was taking off for band practice.
Lucas is her oldest son. At the time of the incident, the only people home were Lucas, Dominic, and Lily, as her husband Peter had just left for his band practice. It's possible that Lily might have waited for Peter to leave, as he was also a registered nurse in Sarasota, which could have made Peter suspicious of the things she was about to do to Dominic. And right now, Lily is sitting in this interrogation room, trying to piece together the best story she can, not knowing that detectives are about to tear it apart. If that's something you enjoy watching, subscribe to us. It helps us bring you more content exactly like this.
Dominic seemed like he was getting a little hungry again. He was growing so fast. He was going between 5 and 7 ounces, and so I made him a couple more ounces, gave him a snack, held him for a little while, put him back in his pack and play. I think he was on the boppy pillow next to his napper, kind of sitting up and watching Lucas. It was just before 9:30. I went back in the room to see if Dominic had fallen asleep. Sometimes he will just lay there. There was a box on his bassinet that he likes to just kind of look at. But when I went back, he wasn't breathing. His lips were blue. I scooped him picked him up out of the bassinet. I don't have much light in my room, went into the kids' room directly across the hall, put him on his changing table, immediately noticed he's unresponsive. I could not find my cell phone in a hurry. I knew I would need an ambulance. I'm a nurse. I would have immediately called 911 on speakerphone and initiated CPR. I panicked, ran to my neighbor's house, right next to my house. Her husband drives an ambulance for pediatrics. She said, go to my mother-in-law's house, directly across the street. We laid Dominic down in the garage, initiated CPR. I believe that it's a matter of shock and trauma that I can't recollect him being taken by the ambulance. But
According to her, even though she panicked and couldn't assess the situation properly, she performed CPR on Dominic. But according to witnesses, that actually never happened. First responders were the ones who ultimately performed CPR in an attempt to save his life. And while that inconsistency raised questions, what truly confirmed detectives' suspicions was the earlier trauma Dominic had suffered just 2 months before this incident.
So I understand about after 3 weeks, when Dominic was 3 weeks old, something happened with his leg. Can you describe what happened to us?
Sure. I had just fed Dominic. I was we have a rocker, recliner, lazy boy chair in our living room next to Lucas's little kid table. I was burping Dominic. I had him sitting up on this knee, and I had one hand patting his back and the other hand on his chest. On this side of the chair is the lever to recline it. Lucas liked to mess around. He would stand up on it and kind of jump on it.
He was a boy.
Little bit. Yeah.
Big brother.
Yeah. When this happened, he was standing on the lever, and he put his foot back to try to balance on the chair of the kids' table, and that started to lean back. He lost his balance, and he reached out and grabbed this hand that I had on Dominic's chest. And I couldn't get it back from him in time to stop Dominic from falling. Dominic fell, and his right leg was tucked behind him. So right away, I put him in the car seat. I knew Pete would be home. I had texted him, "Are you on your way home?"
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Yeah." And when I wasn't touching the leg, Dominic wasn't crying. Pete even came home and said, "Are you sure you need to take him to urgent care?" But I had called Sarasota Memorial Urgent Care on University. I said, "Yeah, I touched his leg and he cried." He said, "Okay, well," and I thought it was maybe a sprain. I'd be back home, in an hour. But they said they would see him. When I got there, they said they can't because he was under 3 months old. They referred me to a different urgent care, Lakewood Ranch. I went there. They hadn't opened yet. It said coming soon. I had passed a doctor's hospital, ER off Lakewood Ranch. So I called them, I went there, and we were there for some hours. They did x-rays, told me that he had and I rode with them in the ambulance to All Children's Hospital.
Just before we get far away from it, you had described up to it what had happened. What happened? I mean, he's here and you got pulled off, so Dominic would have fallen, I'm assuming, like between your legs on the floor? Or...
Did he fall down onto the floor, or did he fall into the chair and then the floor, or just straight down?
He did. He did
Like a back
tumble, and his head was on my foot. I remember that. And I had tried to stop him from falling, but he had Chanel's socks on, and I ended up just being able to grab the sock.
The incident Lily describes goes back to September 2021, with her claiming Dominic accidentally fell from a reclining chair. But detectives believe she used her nursing background to make those injuries look accidental, since she knew exactly what normal trauma looked like and how to explain it away.
So, Lily, we've got some unexplained to Dominic's head. And I know that originally, when you guys were in the hospital, they had told you Dominic had some, so you were kind of aware of that already.
Yes.
So we were able to look a little bit deeper into that, and I'd like to give you the opportunity to explain how Dominic got. And this is that opportunity for you to do that.
Okay. I don't have an explanation.
Okay.
What kind of did you guys see? Like, I know that in the hospital they were notified about a skeletal, or
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
not numerous.
There are numerous on the back of his.
Oh my goodness. You were just aware of the one.
Yeah.
In the whole care and custody, you know, I mean, we've established, at least with speaking everyone, that, you know, you were the last one with Dominic. You know what I mean? That's, we all understand that.
Right.
In the limited time, you know, that Peter was there was no accidental drops or any, you know, inflicted damage, what have you. He left, as you even described it, the smiley, you know, happy face. He was fine.
That's, you know,
Seemed all right.
Peter left and he was smiley, happy. You described that. You know, everything seemed okay. And then there's kind of that interim from when after Peter left to when you went to your neighbor's house. That's that time period that needs a little bit more explanation. And I'd really like to give you that opportunity now to, if there's anything that you can think of that you'd like to talk about, now would be the time to do so.
I understand that, but there was nothing out of the ordinary during that time.
Okay. And I want to be frank with you, Lily. I can understand all of the stress that you were going through. I can't even imagine for 2 seconds being in your shoes with the amount of stress. We talked to Peter's parents. We talked to your mom. Haven't been able to talk to your dad yet, but even Peter's parents straight up said that Peter is not as involved as they want him to be. So you're taking care of everything. You're taking care of 2 kids, 1 brand new baby, the loss of your sister, trying to incorporate work and being a full-time mom. I can't imagine. And I want to express to you that I empathize with you, and I know my partner does, and everyone can empathize with you for everything that you were going through.
Thank you.
However, there are these unexplained, and they need an explanation. Otherwise, the answers that we get will be strictly based on the evidence that we see. So we're going to draw those conclusions. And without an explanation, that's what we have.
I need an explanation as well.
I mean, there are, and there's like a 2-hour gap of time, right? But
Or 3.
yeah,
So-
2 to 4, we'll say.
Gap of time when?
Between when Peter left and when the paramedics were called.
7:30 to 9:30.
It was about 3 hours.
Oh, okay.
Other than that, there's no other evidence, right? I'm sorry. I mean, that's it.
That's what we're saying. She's the only one that can answer.
She's the only one that can
maybe
can
not,
answer
though.
to.
I mean, what if she can't? What if she can't? And
These injuries were inflicted.
The injuries were inflicted, and they were inflicted within that time period.
yeah, see, we don't know that, and you guys know we have been here. I have been
Absolutely.
readily cooperative.
Oh,
with you.
absolutely, no question. That's why
Because we want these same answers. We don't have these answers, and if we did, Peter and Lily would have provided them. Their stories have been consistent all the while, and I mean, the one thing is that Lily said, I said I put him in pajamas, and I didn't. I actually swaddled him, and so we want to clarify that today. That's the only discrepancy that I've been aware of, being frank with you guys as counsel, even privileged and confidential information. So, I mean, I know your position. I know my position. There is a gap here that I'm not sure can be filled, because Lily does not have this information. She has no pattern, obviously, of inflicting upon her. There was no accident that occurred there that she is aware of, except for, the dog maybe, or the leg break, if this happened historically. We just
understood. We've ruled that out. So the injuries that happened they happened that night. They happened within the time period that Dominic was in Lily's care. We've established that. We know that. For a fact.
Medically, that's what the doctors
For a fact.
determined.
And we're waiting on another injury that did happen prior at some point.
And now the detectives have closed in on the gap she left. The 2 hours between Peter leaving for band practice and Dominic suddenly becoming unresponsive, she can't defend herself anymore.
So
Get more
beyond
definitive.
the femur, we have additional that were unexplained from the time period of to the night of November 8th.
Like what? What additional injuries?
Head trauma.
Head trauma.
And we'll have a more definitive, we're not trying to intentionally be overly vague with you. It's a matter, we'll have a more definitive answer, we've been told, this month. So by the end of the month, in another 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
And that's the best we can tell you. So we don't want to speculate or what have you. But what we know is you're the only one that can possibly give an explanation. Whether you're able to or not, you would be the only one that could, give us an explanation.
Yeah, if there was one to be found, yeah.
The only other alternative is that you don't want to tell us what happened. And I can understand if something happened that you don't want to talk about. But we are here, and your son is dead. And there is a reason for it.
You're saying he had other that were older than that time frame?
To potentially show some kind of history, something.
Like I said before, when going over the CPR, I do believe it's a matter of so much shock and trauma that I had trouble remembering going to Sarasota Memorial with him, but I've racked my brain over and over, and I only recall what I've told you, that he was sleepy. I tried to feed him. I did swaddle him, but I can't recall anything that would have.
It would have been in the hours leading up to putting him down. We know that.
Okay.
So that's why we're looking at you for the answers, because we know that that's the gap that we're dealing with.
I'm just finding this hard to believe.
Is there
I'm not sure what to say.
in terms of alcohol, you had expressed to us that you drank in excess the night in October of your sister's, the anniversary of your sister's death. Was there more alcohol use than you initially led up to the night of November 8th? Excuse me.
No more than what I've admitted to. I had a few glasses of wine.
Okay. So, you were not inebriated, you were not intoxicated the night of November 8th.
I don't know if I would say wasn't intoxicated. I did have a few glasses of wine, but that's not
Inebriated.
an excess.
So some impairment,
Right.
some form of impairment, but we understand there's
Functional.
levels. You were still able to care for the children. You remember, your memory was great, leading all the way up to the
Right.
traumatic incident, and that's explainable, that's understandable. So you were maybe
Yeah, it's
slightly
very-
impaired, but you weren't drunk.
Blackout drunk.
Right.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, understood. It's more the period of time after Peter left for band practice.
I understand that.
That's kind of the time in question.
I understand that.
Because we've determined, been talking with you and talking with Peter, nothing happened in that short period of time that he was home for dinner and before he left to explain any injuries. So, that's... And there's a potential that could have maybe been inflicted just prior to him getting home, but it's definitely in that window, though.
His
You know what I'm
behavior.
saying? I mean,
His behavior, though, that Peter noticed when he was home, I think would have ruled out it happening prior.
That's what we think. That's
Unless
what
it
I'm
was
saying.
substantially prior. Unless these were historical injuries or
no.
disorder or,
Yeah, and this wasn't the case. Like Sarah's explained to you, we can rule out, because I know you had certain concerns of maybe what could have caused his death. And
I think at one point you had said, CPR perhaps on the garage floor. CPR was not on the garage floor. CPR was conducted from when we talked to all the EMTs, the neighbors, everybody. It was conducted in a proper way. No, it was not dropped in any way that could have caused. This happened while he was in your care.
we were worried
Didn't
about,
aspirate.
Yep, no aspiration.
He didn't on the formula. That was not the reason why he died.
Those things have been ruled out.
Now, if we have evidence and explanation, it obviously helps create what that final conclusion is going to be. But otherwise,
Right.
if we don't have an explanation from you and you're the only person that can provide that explanation to us, we have to go on the evidence that we see.
In the conclusion made by the medical examiner, that's what we'll be waiting. That's what they'll be giving that. Based on the evidence, they will conclude the cause or manner.
I don't think for 1 second that you're a bad person or that you meant for this to happen. You love your son. You love both of your sons very, very much. I know that.
Very much.
There's no doubt in my mind your love for your children. And there's no doubt in my mind that Dominic's death is a tragedy. But Dominic died because something happened to him. Okay, Lily.
I'm only recalling what I'm recalling, which is nothing that would explain this.
And you're right, it may take the help of therapists. That may be what
Something
it
that's blocked
takes
out.
to draw that out, where they can narrow more down into that period of time just before, down. If you're unable, and it's not judging you, I don't know that I could. If you're unable to draw it out yourself, you may need that person that specializes in that, and can help people recall memories.
Sorry, I don't believe I would have hurt him. I mean, I don't. Not for a second.
I don't think you would have hurt him intentionally, that's for sure. I don't think so.
Think that I did.
And it could have been in a moment's
Even
time.
non-intentionally, if I thought something happened that would have injured him, I wouldn't let that go.
Even though she denies any role in Dominic's death, the court ruled out that possibility and made sure she faces the consequences of her actions. On March 15, 2022, Lily Shipe was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. But as the evidence came in, and the defense argued her mental state, the charge didn't stick. A jury ultimately found her guilty of the lesser charge, manslaughter, and in Florida, it means causing someone's death through reckless or negligent actions without legal justification. And for that, she was sentenced to 10 years in prison, followed by 4 years of probation after her release. Thank you for watching today's video. Out of everyone watching, 85% of our viewers aren't subscribed. Every subscription helps us keep making these. If you got something out of this video, your support would help us more than you realize. And if you're new here or have been with us for a while, check out one of the craziest cases I've ever covered right here, or one of my newest uploads right here.